Alright, potty people, here is the difference of squares notes. The difference of squares notes. The first thing we're going to review is the FOIL or the box method. Okay, so looking at number 1, we're going to take two binomials and we're going to multiply them out to get a trinomial. So I'm going to FOIL this. X times x is x squared. X times positive 3 is a positive 3x. Negative 3 times x is a negative 3x. And negative 3 times positive 3 is a negative 9. Now we want to combine like terms, which are the x to the first powers. When I do, positive 3 and negative 3 cancel out, and we're left with x squared minus 9. Same thing here. I want to FOIL or box this, so I'm going to multiply 2 times 2 and I get 4. X times x and I get x squared. Go to the last term, so 2x times a negative 5y is a negative 10, 2 times 10, xy. Middle terms are going to be a positive 10xy, and the last term is going to be a negative 25y squared. Once again, combine like terms, so the x and y's are going to once again cancel out, and my answer is 4x squared minus 25y squared. Now, we call these the difference of squares. Okay, we call these the difference of squares. And look in here, it says the difference of squares is a shortcut that can be used to factor an expression of the form x squared minus y squared. Okay, and you notice that there is no middle term, right? In both of these examples, my middle term canceled out. So that is what makes it a difference of two squares. In other words, the first term is a difference of squares, and the second term is a perfect square. Right? So x times x is x squared, just like 5 times 5 is 25. X times x is x squared, just like 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so in general, the factor expression is going to be x plus y and x minus y, because once again, we want the middle terms to cancel out. Alright, now, always, always, always look for a GCF first. Always, always, always look for a GCF first. Okay, and it says another note, this technique does not work with the sum of squares. Notice that every example has a minus sign here. Because again, the only way for me to get this negative at the end is to multiply by a different sign, a positive and a negative. So looking at example A, I have x squared minus 48. Okay, so again, we're going to factor this. So I need to know what times what gives me x squared. Well, there's an x in both. And I know that if this is the difference of squares, I know I need to get a negative 64. So I need to multiply different signs, and then 8 times an 8 gives me 64. Looking at B, I need to get 16h squared. So both of those first terms are going to be 4h. Now, once again, we're going to have different signs, so one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. And now I need 9a squared, so 3 times 3 gives me 9, and then a times a gives me a squared. 121, the square root of 121 is going to be 11. And then once again, different signs. And now I need 4b squared. So 2 times 2 is 4. B times b is b squared. Looking at letter D, I can factor out the GCF first. If I notice here, I've got a g in both of these, and I've also got a 3 in both of these. So I can factor out 3g. Once again, when I say factor out, I mean divide. So we're dividing by 3g. So what I'm left with is 9g squared minus 1. Now this can also be factored. So I've still got the 3g in front. I'm going to set up my two parentheses. What times what gives me 9? 3 times 3. What times what gives me g squared? It's got to be a g. OG. Right? Now, again, different signs because I've got to multiply to get a negative. And now, what times what gives me 1? You guessed it. 1. There you go. Looking at E, I've got b to the 4th. Don't freak out on me. B squared times b squared gives me b to the 4th. Again, different signs. 16, I need a 4 times a 4. F, okay, I'm looking at the square root of 625, okay, which, let me give you a hint, is 25. So you need a 25 in both. Different signs. And now I need x to the 4th, right? So x squared and x squared. Alright, looking at H. Okay, the last one I'm going to do. Looking at H. Again, I always want to look for a GCF first. I always want to look for a GCF first. So in this case, I see an x in both of these. I know I can take out an x. And I know that both of these are also divisible by 5. So I'm going to factor out or divide out the GCF of 5x. So I'm going to cancel out here. 5 divided by 5 is 1. X to the 5th divided by x is x to the 4th. Subtract your exponent. So 5 minus 1. These are going to cancel out. You're going to be left with minus 9. Now, once again, I'm going to look to factor this. This is the difference of squares. So 5x, what times what? The same number and variable gives me x to the 4th, x squared. Different signs. And now I need to know what times what? The same number gives me 9. It's got to be 3 and 3. Difference of squares.